My guest tonight is going to be talking to us a little bit about the advantages and maybe the disadvantages, we'll see, as it relates to attending an HBCU, historically black college or university. But first, I'm telling y'all, we are getting closer and closer to our STEM Success Summit. So if you're not registered, I'm going to show you why you need to tonight on STEMedia Live. What's going on, fam? Welcome to another edition of STEMedia Live. This is the place, y'all, where we chat with some of the most inspirational and creative people in the STEM community. I'm excited tonight. You might be wondering, yo, Dr. Nee, what's up? Why are you so excited? I'm excited. The reason why I'm always excited because tonight is no exception. We have Amanda J. Henry with us, everybody, and we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics of late, and that is HBCUs. That's right. That's coming your way. But first, you all know what's about to happen, right? You all know what's about to happen. We're in the month of November. This is our first STEMedia Live in November, the same month that we have our annual flagship event. That's right. I'm talking about none other than the STEM Success Summit. That is going to be our topic tonight on our segment that we call Did You See or Did You Hear That? That's right. Did you see that the STEM Success Summit has its agenda ready to go? That's right. If you look here on the screen, you see that registration is still open. We still have a little bit more time. We are under 2 weeks, but we have a theme. We have a theme that's kind of shaping a lot of our messaging, a lot of what we're going to be talking about this year. And that theme is right here as you look at the STEMSuccessSummit.com. STEM it forward. That's right. The theme for the 2021 STEM Success Summit is STEM it forward. This year has been challenging for many, and we could all use a little extra support as we head into 2022. So let's show others and the world how strong our STEM community truly is. We encourage you to STEM it forward by checking in on your peers, finding ways to show acts of kindness, and sharing the STEM Success Summit with anyone that could use a boost of motivation. Yes, our agenda is underway, and if you go to the website, you will see these wonderful headshots of our stellar lineup of presenters. Going to be talking about pretty much anything you need to have a successful career, whether it be your personal branding, whether it be finding funding, whether it be looking for jobs and internships, whether it be how to even start your own entrepreneurial effort. So I'm telling you, if you aren't registered, I don't even know what you're waiting on, man. I don't even know what you're waiting because why? The price is free. It's free. We're not charging anything this year. It may not be free forever, but it's free this year. Our third annual event where you can go here and you can click on registration and it will take you directly to our registration page where you can get your free ticket. Now, I'm going to tell you something. We're using a platform different this year, and we had to purchase based on the number of people we expected. Now, we have an expected number, and I'm telling you, if we go past that number, you just might be out of luck. A lot of the things we have coming your way, such as our scholarships, our giveaways, so forth and so on, are going to be happening inside the app. So go right now and register for the STEM Success Summit, but don't stop there. Share it on your social media, share it in email, share it with anybody that you think would benefit from this wonderful opportunity to be elevated and empowered in their STEM success. So that's right. Go and check out STEMSuccessSummit.com and you can click on registration and we will see you on November 17th to November 20th. That concludes our segment today of Did You See That? All right, fam. Without further ado, I am about to introduce and bring to the screen, bring to STEMedia Live tonight our guest for this evening. She goes by the name of Miss Amanda J. Henry, MS. Amanda Henry is an independent educational consultant. She has experience as an adjunct professor and administrator in undergraduate, graduate, and professional degree programs. Additionally, she has experience in higher education as a former internship program manager and a current Pathways to Professional Careers manager. She has over 10 years of experience with specialization in career readiness. We love that. STEM, HBCUs, pre-health professional sciences, and experiential learning, internships, and fellowships. Fam, I gotta help you. I gotta let you come tonight and get ready because we're gonna be talking about historically black colleges and universities. And so, why don't you please join me as I introduce to some and present to others, none other than our guest tonight, Miss Amanda J. Henry. Yay!
Hello, everyone.
Everybody, she is here. She is here. No need to fear. She's about to give it to us tonight. Amanda, how you doing?
I'm well, and you?
I'm good. I'm good. I feel excellent. I feel excited because, as I said, we're going to get into one of my favorite topics to talk about, particularly as I reflect on my educational journey, and that is HBCUs. But we got to start things off as we typically do. You've seen the show before, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So you know that we kick the show off by asking one of our icebreaker questions, our favorite question to ask, and that is, why don't you just tell us a fun fact about yourself, something that we wouldn't have found in that professional, bio of yours, but it's still interesting as it relates to Amanda Henry.
Okay. My fun fact is I am an auntie to 6 kids, 5 nephews, and I now have a niece. So that's my fun fact. And I've reached the new auntie level now because my youngest nephew puts people in timeout for 2 minutes. So yeah.
You say that's a new level because now your youngest is like he's starting to like put you in timeout or like other siblings.
His siblings, not me.
Oh, okay, okay. He ain't going that far now.
No, he's not gonna go that far.
Got you. How you like being an auntie?
I love it. I mean, my oldest nephew is 14. He actually is special needs, and that's kind of one of the ways I've exercised experiential learning. A guy that's here in Houston has an aviation nonprofit, and so they expose the kids to just going through the process to get checked in at the airport and all of that. And so a few months after that, I took my oldest nephew on his first flight. So that, I go all the way in as far as auntie duties are concerned.
Yeah, you don't leave nothing to chance.
No.
Sure you understand the assignment.
I do. I definitely do.
I love it. Y'all gotta give her some love in the chat. This is Amanda J. Henry. Come to us live from Houston, Texas.
That's correct.
Hey, H-Town in the building. H-Town in the building.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Cool. Well, tell me this. Where are you originally from? Are you originally from Houston? What's the origin of Amanda?
No, I'm originally from Port Arthur, Texas.
Okay.
Yes, which is like 85 miles east of here.
Yeah. Port Arthur. I know that's where is that where Bun B them from?
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? Hey,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I never even been there, but when you listen to rap music and people be repping hard where they from, you learn places, right? We learn geography from rap music sometimes.
Yeah, we are proud people from Port Arthur.
Okay, cool. So you grew up in Port Arthur. You did all your elementary, your high school, and all that out there?
In Port Arthur, pre-K through 8th grade, and then I went to high school in Beaumont, which is like 15 miles away.
Now I've been to Beaumont, actually. I've been to Beaumont. Yeah. My college roommate at an HBCU. He got married out in Beaumont. He's still in Houston right now. Shout out to Mike Vance, his wonderful family. But yeah, I was out in Beaumont and we spent time just hanging out downtown Houston. His night before his wedding, his bachelor festivities and all that. So yeah. So I'm a little bit familiar with where you're from. And then you, I guess I understand you decided to stay there even for college, right?
In Houston.
Well, in Texas.
Yeah, in Texas. Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, where'd you go?
The Texas Southern University, where our motto is excellence and achievement.
Let them know.
Look, let me let you know how real it is. Life member of the Alumni Association. We don't play games over here, okay?
Yeah, hey, life member. Forget that annual stuff. Yo, let me. How much? I'm a lifer. You let them know you a lifer.
Listen.
Yes.
I play no games.
TSU Tigers, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. So you went to TSU and you majored in what?
Originally it was chemistry, but I ended up changing my major to biology.
Okay, so you stayed in STEM.
I did.
Yeah. So give us a little bit about those early. What got you even interested in that, chemistry or biology? Like what what made Amanda decide that, a science career was for her?
Well, the thing is, I'm the oldest child. So being the oldest, you don't have anybody else to ask. So there were a couple girls that grew up with me that were a year ahead of me, and both of them were STEM majors. One was at TSU, the other one went to Prairie View, which is another HBCU. And they told me about scholarship programs. And so my dad was like, if you don't get a scholarship, you going to Harvard on the natures, is what he referred to Lamar University back home. And so I knew I didn't want to stay back home. I wanted to leave. And so I got the scholarship, and here we are, STEM degrees later.
Here we are, STEM degrees later. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So was it one of those things where it's like you're a natural, you getting straight A's,
Oh,
you
no.
were leading the study groups,
No.
what was that? Okay.
No. Even in high school, my dad's friend, he worked at the refinery. He tutored me in math because I just wasn't getting it. I mean, I'm above average student.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you have to have some kind of, a little bit of smart something to keep your scholarship. But no, I went to tutorials and things like that. But no, I'm not the stellar student in the class.
Got you. But you got through it. You got through it,
Yeah, I
right?
got through it. I got through it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
my mama would say, God graduated. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, I know, right? You got your cum laude, your summa cum laude, you got your thank you laude. There we go.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to all the thank you laude graduates out there,
Yeah.
y'all. We got another one in the clan, Amanda and Henry.
Listen.
Yo, you know what? Like I gotta be honest with you though, right? I gotta be honest with you. When someone said TSU, like I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama, and that's another
Mhm.
thing too. Like Houston has NASA
Right.
rocket program. I was in Huntsville, Alabama, had NASA,
Mhm.
and y'all were like H Town. We were like, no, we H Town, even though we like way smaller. We still
Right.
kind of like, but being in that region, like when I hear TSU, I would think Tennessee State University when it came to
Right.
HBCUs. But y'all are TSU, Texas State University, right?
Texas Southern.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Texas Southern University. Thank you. Hey,
Mhm.
that's why I got on here. And like when it came to like just being in the HBCU, first of all, before we even get into some of like the higher level general HBCU experience,
Right.
why don't you tell me a little bit about what made HBCU experience so special for you and something that you treasure and you appreciate personally?
Well, I went to a predominantly white high school, so there were only 7 Black people in my class.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a complete opposite. Not that I wasn't used to it. I grew up in a Black neighborhood, went to a Black church. And so for me, it was just, they kind of say that I think in One of the Best Mans, how you get to see the different types of Black people. Everybody has their, I hate to say it like that, but kind of like you rep your own set, like what's your thing? The us nerds were in the scholarship programs. You had your band people, you had a debate team. Actually, our debate coach at TSU helped assisted with Denzel Washington with the Great Debaters movie. So, you know, um, you found your place, you found your lane, and pretty much that helped you not only identify what your gifts were, you were able to build on them if you didn't know what they were before you got there.
Right, right, right.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember the Great Debaters movie, and that was based on a HBCU in Texas too, right?
Right. Hmm.
That was what was
I
the
think
name
it
of the
was Wiley College.
Wiley College? Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And so you're telling me when you were in school, that's when they were like filming it and people were helping out with that?
No, I had already graduated
Oh, you already got
undergrad. It
okay,
was
got
in
you.
between. I think they may have done it when I was in grad school. I can't remember because I went to TSU for my master's degree too. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
hmm
yeah. You be talking about HBCU, y'all. If y'all don't know what that means, in case you just don't know what that means, that's historically Black colleges and universities. Texas Southern University is one of our uh, outstanding HBCUs where our guest today went to. And you said you saw all different types of Black people, huh? You saw,
hmm
and that's the
hmm
thing, right? Like this diversity, even though people think just Black people, but there's still like so much diversity. And that's what I could say about my own HBCU experience. I went to Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama, and we had this walkway on the way to our library. And
hmm
like whenever like guests would come on campus or we would have any type of like event, they would literally put up flags from all the different countries from which
Right.
students were represented, right?
hmm
And you saw
hmm
like every flag. You saw Haiti, you saw Dominican Republic, you saw St. Lucia, you saw Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? You saw
Right.
so many different nationalities, right, at
Right.
this HBCU. And I'm assuming it was exactly the same way for you at TSU down in Texas as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you see a lot of it, and even in the professional school programs, I worked on campus as well. And so when you start getting into graduate and professional degrees, it gets even more diverse. I mean, not to say you don't have it in undergrad, but it happens a lot so in those areas as well. Even the faculty, people don't realize that, but you have people from all over the world, at historically black colleges and universities.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you did grad school at Texas Southern as well?
Yes, I did. But in between my two degrees, I actually did a 1 year fellowship program,
Okay.
and that fellowship program was it was funded by the Department of Defense, and
Hmm.
it taught STEM people business because it's easier to teach a STEM person business than a business person STEM. And so there were like 14 of us that went to various different HBCUs, and the program was funded at like $50,000. They gave us a stipend, a laptop. They paid our tuition, paid for our housing,
Yeah.
and we went to school in Southern California for a year at Cal State San Bernardino.
Oh, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
Hmm.
I'm gonna just crystallize something you just said though. You said it's easier to take a STEM person business than a business person STEM. And you know what? That's something I kind of like visually have kind of always felt. Shout out to our STEM audience. No shade on our business
No, no, no.
non-STEM audience, but we're just saying like again like you get the deep expertise in the area of chemistry in your case or biology and engineering in
Hmm.
my case. But then like business is one of those things that you can then add on top of that,
Right,
right?
right,
Even
right,
after you graduate, and like
right.
it's crazy because then you have the technical and then you have the economic to go with that, and this I think that's a powerful combination. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I mean?
is. It is. It's
Yeah.
becoming like before. What is it? Shark Tank. We knew what that
Yes.
was way back then. It didn't have a name to it for us. You know what I mean? Because we hadn't had prior exposure to it. And just to shout out a program, there's actually a program called HBCU VC, which the VC stands for venture capitalist.
Mm,
And so that exposes students to how companies go public and how capital is raised and all those sort of things.
yeah. 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 So let's talk about kind of like maybe from the beginning, or I wouldn't say this is the beginning, but let's take a step back and at least address the point that sometimes people bring up, and that is HBCUs was, you know, instituted at a certain time when blacks weren't able to attend some of the mainstream universities. And, it made sense because there was all the segregation, there was racial, blatant racial, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but there were just, people say it was more necessary then, but now,
Right.
because of the laws, it's not as necessary now. What is your stance on that issue when it comes to the question of are HBCUs still relevant today?
Well, I say that they still are. What I will say is, I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And so we have different initiatives, and one of them being HBCU related. And so within that, we help students with the college admissions process. And so I would say when the program first started around 2018, 2019, um, I remember doing a presentation, which, we'll go into some of that information a little bit later. Some of the parents would tell me, well, my kid didn't really want to go. They don't think that they're going to be able to do one, two, and three, or whatever the case is. But, the unfortunate part, and I'm saying unfortunate because it's more of a tragedy than an unfortunate thing. But with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, the data is out there now to show that the number of students who are currently, enrolled in HBCUs has increased. So, again, that's a tragic situation that happened. But I would say, you know, if anybody goes on various social media platforms, you'll see people say, you get to be black these 4 years, 5, 6, if you're a super senior, and
Do that.
you get to, that's your place where you kind of get to be in your incubator or your nest,
Hmm.
So I would say yes, it's still relevant
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And, no one really asks if state schools are still relevant when
Mm,
now there are a lot of private schools or whatever, right? Other options, right? There are a lot of
right,
schools that were instituted with certain initiatives, land grant institutions and things of that
right,
nature, for its original purpose, but nevertheless still continue to not only serve that purpose and beyond, really, when it comes to their existence. Um, so here's what I've heard from you though, right? And you've mentioned kind of projects you've worked on. You don't necessarily say that that is the only thing a person should consider though, right? When they're picking a college, it isn't just where can
right,
I be black, right? You believe that there also should be some considerations as it relates to a person's career path and their major.
right. I agree.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, what I tell people all the time, and obviously we're promoting this for HBCUs, but we'll have some of the audience who may be a parent that didn't attend a HBCU, and so we kind of have to help guide them or educate them as well, so they can help make informed decisions for their student, right? So I tell people all the time, don't go to X school just because it has this name, right? Does
Mm-hmm.
X school have the program you're trying to study? Like, for example, your alma mater, I haven't looked at it to see
Mm-hmm.
what degrees they offer, but if they don't offer nursing, why would I go to your alma mater if I'm trying to be a nurse? You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, right,
It
right,
just
right.
you got to be strategic
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you're aligning what your end goal is, beginning with the end in mind, and actually one identifying, do they have this program, and if they do, how good is it?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And y'all, if you just joining us, this is Amanda Henry. She is, as we said in her introduction, educational consultant. She has experience as a professor, administrator, at all levels of higher ed, right? Undergrad, graduate, even professional degree training programs. And we're talking about the advantages and disadvantages of HBCUs. And you're right, right? I think it is important for a person to understand ultimately what they're trying to obtain, like what type of
Right,
degree, because not all school have all degree programs. Not all schools are even probably the best for positioning you for a certain career. But with that
right,
said, HBCUs have sort of an added thing on the menu, especially for people of African descent,
right.
and that is the nurturing, the guidance, the affirmation that comes with just who you are as a black person. So we wanna talk a little bit about this article, right?
Hmm.
And this article is an article that you were the author of. Let's just put it out there. And I came across it, a while ago, and it was entitled, "What is it? HBCU Fact or Fiction?
That's correct. Hmm.
Historically Black Colleges and Universities Edition, Fact or Fiction." Right? And there are a number of things that come up. I've heard several conversations, and we're going to talk about some of those that are typical points that come up, considerations that come up when a person is considering the viability of attending or sending their child to an HBCU. So we've already
Right.
addressed the major. Let's assume you already have the major on campus and you kind of consider an HBCU. And one of the things that comes up, right, and we're just going to go down the line, is this statement. You say fact or fiction. If I attend an HBCU, then I won't be properly prepared for the workforce. What
Hmm.
say you, Amanda Henry?
That's a fiction.
Okay.
It could be further from the truth. It could not be further from the truth. I can use my own personal experience for an example. I had an internship after my freshman year. I actually had two or three internships before I graduated. Um, I also attended professional conferences. Um, I was able to, network with people outside, inside, my discipline and outside of it. And so some of the tips I give people in order to help prepare themselves are join a professional school or a professional organization. For example, by you being an engineer, I always recommend to students for them to go into NSBE.
Right.
It's one of those key organizations. Most people that I know are engineers. That's how they got their first job out of college, was participating in NSBE. Then identifying a faculty or a staff member who has field experience. And what does field experience mean? Meaning somebody who has actually worked in their profession outside of the walls of the institution. And then the last thing is to get an internship or multiple internships, because, I always, anytime I have this conversation with students, let me see if I have one right here in front of me. I always say to myself, do you want your resume to look like this? And so based on that, that can determine whether or not, you know, um, if a recruiter wants to hire you or not.
Yeah, yeah. I did this. I participated in this challenge. You know how everyone does like the reels and the TikTok challenges where they change. And I was
Mm-hmm.
asked by a friend of mine to participate in one with a group of PhDs, right? Who started at HBCU, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now have PhDs, or doctorates in medicine, education, engineering, in my case, biomedical sciences. And it was so crazy because not only did the reel that I participated in go so long because there are so many people who were extremely successful after attending the HBCU, but when we posted it, I can't tell you how many people were in the comments like, "Yo, you left me out. Oh man, you left me out. I went to HBCU and I'm doing this." Like people were basically saying, "Yo, the list goes on and on and on."
Right,
People who have proven to have started and went to school at HBCU and have not only been prepared but have exceeded in their given fields that they've chose.
right. I agree. And I
Yeah,
mean, just think about it. I told you I worked in a professional school program. I don't have a doctorate degree.
yeah.
That's typically, the standard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, hey,
Right, right, right. You still were prepared. Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Shout out to the Black Math Academy coming through. One of our friends, one of the fam, saying good evening. What up, man? Good evening to you.
Good
O'Neill.
evening.
Yes, 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 yes. All right, we got another one for you, Amanda. The next one is this: um, employers don't hire or shy away from HBCU grads, and this is kind of similar to what we just said. Fact
Hmm.
or fiction? Fact or fiction?
That's a fiction.
Okay.
Hmm. It's a fiction. A lot of, the companies they go to where they will get to kind of use the colloquial term and get the best bang for their buck, right? So obviously, if they went to an institution where the population base is more diverse, then obviously they can get more quality candidates going to those particular areas. Again, those professional organizations oftentimes have a lot of Fortune 500 companies that attend those professional organizations or even come to your university's career center to look for you, right?
Hmm.
So that's definitely fiction.
Yeah, definitely,
Hmm.
definitely fiction. That's it's hard to believe that even people would even think like that nowadays as well. And especially here's what I would say too. There is, in my opinion, an unfortunate truth, or has been an unfortunate truth, that sometimes recruiters may prioritize certain schools and say, all right, we only have a budget to go to this number of schools, and they'll pick some, and they may go to and they'll go to HBCU, right, intentionally to hire maybe some diverse talent. But like people who I know may have attended some of the smaller HBCUs, in my case mine was really small, have at times felt left out. But I feel like even that, right? Even if a person tried to feel like that was valid, that is removed because now a lot is happening virtually, and people
Right.
are targeting schools,
It's
through
true.
other programs and other initiatives that get you in front of them, and they say, hey, here are some extremely talented people, at a Oakwood, at a TSU, at a what is it? What is some of the small one? A
Paul
Stillman.
Quinn.
Right,
Hmm.
right. Paul Quinn. Right,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. And so
Yeah.
that's big fiction. That's big fiction. Yep. Thanks for breaking that down. We got a comment too. Another comment um, from the Black Math Academy. I spoke about the pros and cons of HBCUs and PWIs in my broadcast. Okay, cool. Other than race, what's the biggest difference between them? We're gonna pause and let you answer this one if you can, Amanda. This is a
Okay.
really good question. What is the biggest difference? Would you say? And then maybe I can chime in when you're done.
I would say culture.
Okay.
Culture is the biggest thing. I mean, Denzel talked about it one time, referring to different directors. Even when you think about it, and people talk about HBCU homecomings, they always say we don't need a celebrity DJ. We just want the DJ that was there when we were in school. So I would say culture is the biggest thing, and even community. It's a different level of community that you have being at a HBCU in comparison.
Yeah, no, that's definitely I would co-sign on that, and I think part of the culture again. which really isn't necessarily a part of the race. It just always seems this is familial of an environment,
Right.
right? Like I think about Miss Cartwright, right, at my university. She was the person who you passed by every day when you went into the cafeteria, and it was crazy how like warm her embrace was. It's like she knew all of us, and all of us were her babies. You know what I mean? And every day we would go in, and when I was there, we had to like scan our ID cards, and I really felt like that was just such a like a I don't know, like a familiar environment. You know, you had her, or you go into the library and you see a Miss Sampson, or you see
Mhm.
Miss right, right. I'm remembering these names
Right.
vividly because that's the type of connection we had on those campuses, and it really felt like we were one big family. And so that really is just a culture that I hear repeated through a lot of people who attend the HBCUs as well. Was that the same for you? You have some people that stand out?
Yeah, the lady that was over my scholarship program just called me today. And I've been out of undergrad 15 years. She called me today just to check on me. So, I mean, that's definitely the case. And, being that I had that as a student, as a former administrator and faculty member at my alma mater, I tried to make sure that I, paid it forward and exercised that same level of what I would say excellence as well as inclusivity, no matter what the student looked like, to
Mhm.
make sure that they got what they needed, so that they could get past whatever their current barrier was and get to graduation.
That's right. That's right. Let me talk about that too, because we do have a few more fact or fiction to go through. But you you were that person for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You were
Mhm.
Miss Henry, right, on campus. And so talk about, because you worked at more than one HBCU in your career, have you?
No, I haven't. I've
You
only
worked at
worked
one.
at
Okay.
one. Yeah, I've
Okay.
worked at other higher ed institutions, but only one HBCU. Mhm.
Okay. So talk a little bit about it from your side though, from the employee, the staff side. What has
Mhm.
been sort of like the difference that you've experienced from that standpoint?
Well, I would say it's kind of like, people a lot of times often say, even now, if you read any of the articles out among, black and brown people, they're saying that they prefer to work from home due to microaggressions and that kind of thing that happens in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And so, being on campus as an administrator or, adjunct faculty, you really don't have, to experience those kind of things. You know what I mean? You kind of have some of the challenges, that the students may face, whatever that might be, whether it's, personal things or, you know, um, just whatever kind of things, because, our schools can typically be under resourced in comparison. So you kind of feel the brunt of that sometimes as a faculty or a staff person, but the level of, I guess you could say, development is still there. Like, that's kind of how I would say birth the idea to go into educational consulting, because I spent the past 6 years of my career working in student internship placement at my alma mater, and so I had no idea how in depth experiential education was until I got there. Like, they had to train me on this stuff because I'm trained, technically. I knew some administrative stuff because I worked for one of the vice presidents as an undergrad, but my skill set definitely got very enhanced. And I don't know if you ever remember that movie called The Intern, where there was somebody who was like a former C-level executive.
Yeah.
So, like, when you have peers, typically in higher ed, there is a big age gap, but people still treat you as a professional. And so that movie, to piggyback on that, like, one of the people that taught me the most I know is about the same age as my mom. And she's still a friend of mine today, even though she's retired and I'm gone from there as well. She helped develop me, especially when it came to having relationships with both students and stakeholders, because being an intern administrator, you have to work with faculty, staff, students, outside people. You just kind of have to wear all those hats. So, like I said, it definitely helps you with building
Mhm.
your skill set.
Yeah, yeah, and y'all. And in case y'all wondering if she knows what she's talking about, she was the person that directly worked with students in getting these internships and these job opportunities. So when she answered those last two questions about employers hiring from HBCUs and being prepared for the workforce, you've seen it firsthand. So you know for a fact that those are myths. Those are not true when it comes to students from HBCUs being less than prepared and not prepared. You
Right.
know for a fact. Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah, I
good.
can even say with our students, from TSU in the pharmacy program, graduate with more hours than what's required from the state.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're gonna make you have more than what you need.
Yeah. You know, I'll say this too. Like I've heard it, and I was like, this is so true. You mentioned resources, right? And how
Hmm.
there, we don't have the huge endowments, right? You
Right,
can go, and this stuff is public knowledge. You can go on Wikipedia right now and see the amount of money that alumni gives to certain universities. And you're looking at HBCUs and you're like, man, like the endowments are like night and day. However, we do so much, right? With so much less that it's
right,
just amazing, when you
right,
think about it from that standpoint.
right.
So yeah, no, I hear you. You got people, exceeding, going above and beyond. So let's talk about this one. Here's another one though. Factor of fiction, right?
Hmm.
And that is this: HBCUs have post baccalaureate degree programs, grad school, in other words.
Yeah, fact. That's a fact.
That's a fact. Okay,
Hmm.
talk about that.
So obviously it varies from school to school, but back when I was in college, there was, I don't even know if it's still in existence. I haven't seen it in the past few years, but it was an acronym that was stood for Allied Minority Health Profession Programs or something like that. So essentially, it was like Hampton, Howard, Xavier. I'm trying to think who else was there. Meharry, where they all had, Tuskegee probably because they have the veterinary school and they had, the dentistry, the medical, the this, the that. And it was like a career fair, but it was specifically targeted into the health sciences and the health professions and that sort of thing. And so, again, you go look at the data. It will tell you, I mean, you're one of those people, but you have your PhD. Majority of our engineers and teachers and medical professionals and lawyers all graduated from HBCUs. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that those individuals went for that graduate degree. They may have gone for undergrad, but those opportunities are definitely there and they continue to grow. And one of the other things that I wanted to mention is uh, I've noticed that some of our schools have started offering associate's degrees, especially in
Yeah,
cybersecurity. And I think Morgan State might be one of them. I could be mistaken about the school, but I think that they may have. And that's something to look at because that's only 2-year training to get you right there into the IT world.
100%. That's all I was just about to say. As you mentioned that, I'm like, man, that's a huge opportunity,
Right,
right? Associate's degree, 2-year degree programs in cybersecurity or other like tech careers that don't require that. It's really more of a training, right?
right, right.
And a career prep. So no, that's dope. I didn't even know that. Thanks for sharing that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
pretty dope. All right, cool. We got a little messiness over here. I think that the Black Man Academy trying to be messy. Let me just bring this up. We'll have a little fun. Just really quick. He says Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, MIT. These are some of the powerhouses outside of HBCUs. What are some of the powerhouses among HBCUs? Not trying to start a war here. Uh-oh.
Well, I'm
We
gonna tell
biased
you,
though. Go
right?
ahead. Go ahead.
What I'm gonna say is every HBCU graduate is gonna name their alma mater, and
Exactly.
we're
Like
gonna
who's
leave
gonna
it
say
at that. We're gonna leave it at that. We're not playing
exactly? It
those
depends
kind
on
of
who you're
games.
talking to. It depends on talking to. Well, let me just say this. I know two of them is Oakwood and Texas Southern. How about that?
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like, let's just start there, right? You try to don't get us in trouble out here. We don't get us in trouble. All right, cool. Here's another one really quick. Last one. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to this one, if there was one that I'm like, then maybe I don't know, it would be this one right here, Amanda.
I
And you go, maybe we
know.
can talk back and forth about this. Fact or fiction? Um, Athletic facilities are worth comparing. Fact or
So
fiction?
I have that as a fact, but
Okay.
I'm also a non-athlete, and that's not to say I don't support what I have as a fact,
Okay.
but it just depends on what that person's end goal is. And so I actually have it in my stories of any sports fans will know anything about the I Am Athlete podcast. And so Chad Ocho Cinco is one of the people on the panel in that podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to go to FAMU, but he didn't have the grades, so he ended up going to Langston. Then he got kicked out for fighting, and then he ended up going to another school. And so his thought and outlook on, I guess you could say, this topic is, if you have the gift, if you have the skill, it doesn't matter what school you go to, they will find you. And so, I'll use his commentary to support my facts.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys on there kind of, they don't necessarily agree with him, but I think the biggest thing about this topic is what they talked about on there is the conversation has to change from just athletic facilities, and it has to start changing into, what kind of student athlete are you trying to be? Are you trying to be one that is also career ready? Because that is a gap that happens in athletic programs, typically because, they have to focus so much on their physical training and actually keeping up with grades and that sort of thing. So I think that as long as we start to push the envelope more to try to incorporate the career path outside of, or in addition to, either one, of the athletic training facilities, and just the athlete as an athlete, then we can continue to grow and expand our minds on the current narrative that's out there.
Yeah, no, you that's a good point. And I know exactly what podcast episode you're talking about.
Right. It was in like September 22nd, 23rd, something like that.
Yeah.
People that want to go back and look for it.
And the thing is, like, that's what kind of, like, I started saying, kind of like you, like, all right, if I was really trying to get to the NFL, maybe it would be a little bit harder of a choice. But if I, like, here's what I say, what Deion Sanders has done for Jackson State has been phenomenal. Right. Like, he has almost single-handedly, and I know he has a team, and I know he has celebrity and everything, but he has elevated that program in so many ways. He has really, by elevating that program, elevated HBCU football in general. Right. And the facilities there are phenomenal. I saw some snaps with people, they were in the locker room dancing, and I was like, yo, that looked like any college that I've ever seen the locker room of, the way they did on the inside. So
and I haven't heard or seen, I'm sorry to cut you off. I haven't heard or I haven't heard or seen anything, but Eddie George is also at Tennessee State, former NFL football player for the Titans.
There you go.
Coaching over there.
Let's not pretend that a lot of the money for these programs and facilities doesn't come from, the networks that want to air their games, or the sponsors that want to get behind the program, right? So there isn't just a matter of, the school doesn't have the money, but it also has something to say about where the money outside of the school has been directed to, and what programs and things that are valued. And so I want to salute those gentlemen and the ladies who are out there doing great things in HBCU sports. And then also Deion Sanders, who was on that same show, said, you senior boys to me, they're gonna come to me as boys, and they're gonna leave as men. Right. And that's to your point, Amanda. What type of student athlete do you want to be, right? And that's not to say you can't become mature or become a man at any other program that's not an HBCU. But if that is your goal, then you won't just be too caught up on whether or not you get steak in your athletic dorm room. You know what I mean?
Right, because that's what he said on the thing. Yeah. The other thing I would add on too, and I didn't think about this when I wrote this, is think about some of your more non-traditional type of sports, like bowling and rugby and things like that, because a lot of times there are scholarship opportunities in those non-traditional sports.
Yeah. No, that's really a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. So, hey y'all, go to an HBCU game this fall. Go to an HBCU basketball game. Go check out some of the non-traditional sports that you may not get all the pub and the love as well. But I'm really glad you wrote this article, Amanda. I think you shed a lot of light, and you also, fearlessly went into a conversation that it's been happening more and more lately.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to act like that's my ministry, because it's not. But I'll touch on it. I'll do the homework. I can do that much.
And you have firsthand experience. So I really appreciate you speaking on that. But yeah, before we go forward, before we continue on and get towards the end of this episode, we got to hit this segment. And this is a segment that we do every episode, and it is called School Me. All right, y'all. So she's about to break something down for us that she knows very well in our segment called School Me. School Me. School Me. School Me. All right, all right. What do we have here? What do we have here, Amanda? We're talking a little bit about. Uh, let's see. You have a title: Higher Tips. You're gonna teach Dr. Nee,
Oh,
right? Higher tips.
I missed something. It was supposed to say higher ed tip, so
Higher
forgive me.
ed tips. Okay,
Hmm.
got you. So here we go. We got just a slide or two that you're gonna walk us through. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about this, if you don't mind.
Okay, so pretty much what I'm going to talk about as swiftly as I possibly can and as articulately as I possibly can. Since I'm in Texas, I'm using the public school education system here in Texas, but I'm pretty sure you could look these things up in whatever your respective state is. So essentially, if you aren't familiar, just to kind of bring to your awareness, most colleges and universities start to recruit students in the eighth grade. So what that means here in Texas is there's something that's referred to as an endorsement. All an endorsement is the high school name for a major, right? And so within that endorsement, it's pretty much your student is selecting what their area of study is going to be, right? So they have to pick that out in the eighth grade, and then that's what they study once they get to high school. The Texas Education Agency on the Texas Education Agency spells out what a counselor is required to do. Within that, 25 to 35% of what they have to cover is an individual development plan. In that individual development plan, they go over um, the social component, the college component, and then two other factors. Within that college component, they are only required in in the freshman and the senior year for high school students to talk about the college admissions process. What does that mean? The requirement or the onus is put back on the parent. So in a student's sophomore or junior year, there are no touch points for what should be done. Here are a couple recommended steps. One is to look at the framework for the college admissions process. What are those steps? And also trying to look into PSAT training in order for your student to take the SAT once they get to high school, which is an admissions test that's required for most institutions to get into college. So the next step that I want to take to build on that, what can happen as after a student finishes their high school years with that endorsement, they may find themselves in one of three places. They may stick with that endorsement. They may, if they don't stick with that if they stick with that endorsement, they may continue, like say for example they did something STEM related, they may continue with a STEM related discipline in college. They may not like STEM and they may try and go do something completely opposite. Then the third is they go in and they don't know what they want to do at all. So what I always try to recommend to both parents and students alike is both in middle, high school, and college is to expand your mind and try to get into what's a fancy title called experiential learning.
Mm-hmm.
All that means is that you know that as summer camps, right? You may put your kids into summer camps, whether it be at a museum, whether it be at an institution, and all that is giving them what is another fancy word that's called tactile learning, which means hands-on training. So exposing them to that will help them to build their resume. Remember, I had the blank sheet of paper and then the sheet of paper that had everything in it. Mm-hmm. Here are two programs that I recommend. One is a national nonprofit called Gensis, and their focus is on business, tech, and I want to say maybe finance and accounting. Mm-hmm. And so it's a free program, and students apply their junior year, and they help with the college admissions process. And they have over a 90% success rate of students getting scholarships and graduating from college. And then in the college years, here are a couple examples of experiential learning, study abroad, undergraduate research, and internships. And what I don't know if y'all remember this old commercial, the DeVry commercial, where they say you can't get a job because you don't have any experience, and because you don't have any experience, you can't get a job. So that still applies to college students. Unfortunately, people don't necessarily um, inform and educate students on that. You know, you have a lot of people who are focused on getting that 4.0, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's even more marketable if you have a lower GPA with more relevant experience. So that's what my lesson is today.
I love it. That's your lesson today. You know, that's that's really good though. You're right. I feel like too when it comes to knowing what you want to do, right? So much of that came from me through the experiential learning process,
But
right?
that's because that's a requirement in the curriculum in engineering.
There you
There
go.
are only two curriculums that require that: engineering and pharmacy. But
Right,
that's a profession. That's
right,
the difference between going into a profession and a non-professional degree.
right. So you say that is always helpful though, regardless
Yes,
if
it
it's
is.
required. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I can see that
Hmm.
100%. 100%. No, that's really dope. So thank you so much for breaking that down for us on today's segment of School Me. School Me. School Me. School Me. All right, Amanda, as we wrap this thing up, come towards the end, I have to tell you, this has been very enjoyable for me. I feel like this is a topic maybe we could even get like a lot of HBCU grads together and just sort of do a roundtable on because there's just so many different perspectives, so many different experiences. And I feel like there are people because I graduated, I got my PhD from PWI. So I've kind of
Hmm.
had both experiences, right? And in fact, I did a dual degree program. I don't even have to go to graduate school. I did a dual degree program where I did applied math. That's what I graduated from my HBCU with, and then I did engineering, which was from the school, the state school there in my city, and it was two different worlds, right? And even
Right.
people, black people who never went to the HBCU, sometimes wonder about the experience, and you know, they sometimes it's presented one way or another, but nevertheless, I think it's helpful to kind of like pull the curtain back and really just share why we value it the way we do.
Right. And one thing I wanted to point out, I don't know if they still do it. And I have a close friend that went to Morgan, so that's how I know about some of the stuff that they're doing. Morgan State actually had kind of like an exchange program where they had a semester where the Morgan State students went to a local PWI, and then the PWI students went to Morgan State for a semester. I don't know if they still have that, but I think that's a phenomenal exposure
Mhm.
that I would like to see, other institutions get involved in.
Yeah. Because we are well aware that the world is not an HBCU. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly.
The workforce, the marketplace is by no means an HBCU experience, but nevertheless, we've gained a lot from those experiences, and I know that there's a lot to be gained for those who are considering or on their way. On their way. So I thank you so much for breaking that down. How can people stay in touch with you and the work you're doing, and the fact that you were a consultant as well? What if someone wanted to work with you as it relates to experiential learning programs and things of that nature? Give us a little bit of shameless plug, if you would.
Okay, well, my Instagram is, you have it up on the, well, I put it on the screen. That's why I did it like that on purpose so people could just find me. That's my Instagram, and then if you add .biz to the end, that's my website. So you can either go to my Instagram, and then I have a link tree that has the link to my website. And we live in a day and time where everybody's trying to check receipts, so my LinkedIn is also included on there, so you can see, different people that I work with. And I'm currently in my current role developing the internship program for my current employer. So from the ground up, this is a brand new degree. So I'm taking what I learned in my former job and doing it now. So I say all that to say you can follow me on Instagram at Amanda J. Henry MS, or you can go to my website at amandajhenryms.biz.
Dope. Yeah, I just want to make sure we get that on the screen in case anybody was interested. You got your link tree. Was it link.tr tree/Amanda J. Henry? That's like
Correct.
all things right there.
Yep.
Just want to like check you out in depth. Make sure you got the receipts on deck. You know, you're not capping out here online.
Yeah, you know how people are. Look, I had to bring my receipts, baby. I'm Lifetime.
You
You
know
got
what I
my
mean?
financial card for AKA too. I'm not
No,
playing with
no.
y'all. I'm not playing with y'all today. We're not gonna do that because
Oh, and you know,
I can't recommend to somebody to be financial if I'm not right. You got to lead
yeah.
by example.
Come on now. And we didn't even
Hmm.
talk about, you know, I just thought about it. We didn't even get into Greek life at HBCUs because I
No,
know
we
that's a whole
didn't.
nother unique
Yeah, that's a whole
experience.
nother. It is.
So shout out to AKA, shout out to the Divine Nine, you know, everybody representing out there.
Hmm.
Um, but why don't you do this as we come to a close? If you could, just give us some parting words of wisdom. And now you've worked with students a lot. And so I know you've had times and moments where you've had heart to hearts. I know you've given advice that people have
Tears
really,
and everything.
you know what I mean? Like really, you know, been there, been that auntie for way
Yeah.
more than the 6 nieces and nephews that you have
Yeah, yeah. One
biologically.
of my old students calls me Mama Amanda. I'm saying, come on, boo. Come on now. Come on.
Come in. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, if you can, um, I'm gonna ask you in a second for some parting words of wisdom. Shout out to Velocity Education Group really quick, highlighting the fact that soft skills are great. Yeah, yeah, that's what they get. That's what they get, particularly first generation students. That is really good. Thank you for your comment. But Amanda, give us some parting words of wisdom that we can take with us throughout the week into our various workplaces. Things that maybe your go to, or just anything that you feel impressed to share right now before we say goodbye.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to be like a pastor, but I have a few. The first one is pay it forward. That's one of the biggest things we learn in the HBCU experience, whether it be somebody giving you a ride, you know, cooking a meal for you, pay it forward. Another thing I would say is make sure that you're a person of excellence, a person of integrity, and a person of resilience because, life will hit you in all three of those things. As long as you hold those things key, they'll help you prepare yourself to the next level. And two quotes, which I may not be saying them verbatim, are two from Maya Angelou. One being, they can't hold a light to you. They can't, the candle they try to put next to you is nothing to compare to the light that is within you. And I have to say that because a lot of times, unfortunately, I don't want to sell somebody something that's not out there. People will try and say that you are not prepared because you went to a historically black college, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. And the last thing that Maya Angelou said is remember you're God's child. Last and most important.
Let the church say amen. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Amanda, thank you so much. I'm glad we finally got to do this. You know, of course, I've seen your work. As I said, I saw your article before we even knew that we were going to be able to set this up,
Right.
months ago. So,
I
but I
appreciate the opportunity.
oh man, it's a pleasure. The pleasure's all mine. Just thank you so much for coming on STEMedia. And you all go check her out. Go follow her on IG. Go check out our link tree. Again, I'm gonna put that on the screen if you want to learn more things about Amanda and even work with her because she is an expert, I would say, in experiential learning. Even as we go beyond just the HBCU experience. But
Yeah.
but again, I appreciate you for talking about that. And yeah,
Be
we'll
on
be
the
in touch.
lookout. I have a program I'm developing, so it's still in the works. So have to wait till it's finalized before I release it, but it's
before
on the
she
way.
before she drop it on y'all and apply pressure. She's gonna be applying pressure. She understand? All right, Amanda. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you too. Y'all
All
have a good
right,
night.
all right. You take care.
All righty. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, fam. I gotta tell you again. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Amanda. You all go check her out. And if you haven't yet, please go register by visiting www.stemsuccesssummit.com. That's right. Today is we are officially 10 days away from this grand event. It's our third annual event, and it's going to be like none other. And it's FREE for a limited time. But until next time, y'all, you all continue to stay up, continue to give the world the best you have. And I believe that the best will come back to you. Take care, fam. And I will see you all in the winner's circle. All right, y'all. Take care. Peace.